So I always do my top 10 quarterbacks. And, it's another rendition of this. It's been a while since I did a top 10 list. I think it was week 12 or 13 the last time I did my top 10 quarterbacks. So let's actually jump in to my top 10 quarterbacks. I always do this. I do it a number of times. This is I call it the preseason top 10 NFL quarterbacks, but you could also say top 10 quarterbacks entering training camp. So let's begin with
number 10.
I got Dak Prescott. He had the best season of his career. He was number 1 in passing touchdowns, number 2 highest graded quarterback according to Pro Football Focus, number 3 in passing yards, and tied for second in completion percentage among the qualified quarterbacks. However, I'm taking everything into account. I'm not worried about regular season versus playoffs. I'm not saying only playoffs. The last time we saw him, he got his butt kicked by Jordan Love in a defense that was ranked about average. You can't let that happen. You can't go third and out consistently against the youngest team in the NFL. You can't throw 2 untimely interceptions, one of which went the other way, and you score with 2 seconds left in the first half, again, against the youngest team in the NFL. You can't let that happen. You have a 2-5 postseason record, and one of those wins was against basically senior citizen Tom Brady, who if he saw basically if a 300-pound guy was less than 15 feet away from him, would be throwing it either out of bounds or tucking it and taking the sack. That really was his last postseason win, if I'm not mistaken, was against an elderly Tom Brady who really was a complete shell of himself. So, Dak Prescott, correct. MVP candidate, 100%. Yes, did have the best season of his career. But when it mattered most, Dak Prescott became the Dak Prescott everybody knows. A big fat fraud. All right, let's go with the next one.
Number 9.
I got Jaylen Herz. He was tied for first in rushing touchdowns among non-running backs and tied for second actually overall in rushing touchdowns. He has now rushed for 38 touchdowns in 3 seasons as a full-time starter. Only 3 other quarterbacks in the modern era have more rushing touchdowns in their entire careers. He's done it in 3 seasons. So, absolutely a complete scoring machine, banged up last year, which I think hindered his production this season with a brand new running back, healthy offense. Now, you did lose Jason Kelce, but you're back healthy. Everybody's healthy, which is great. Can he bring that same type of explosiveness from 2022 when he made it to the Super Bowl, when he was an MVP candidate? I think that is definitely in the cards 100%. I also think they take over the NFC East this season. The next one.
Number 8.
I got Jordan Love. He had an impressive last 10 games of his career, and especially when he ended the regular season, he had 18 touchdowns to 1 interception and had over a 70% completion percentage. Not that bad, but in those last 10 games, he was 7-3, 64.5 completion percentage, 261.6 passing yards a game, 23 touchdowns, 3 picks, 113 passer rating. That is a top 10 quarterback. That's the last time we saw him. Yes, the first 9 games with the youngest team in the NFL, brand new opportunity for Jordan Love, a true opportunity to be a starter with the youngest team in the NFL. Obviously, there's growing pains. Last 10 games showed who he really was, and I think he'll be a great quarterback this season. Also, he was 7th in passing yards, 2nd in passing touchdowns, and like I said, led the youngest team in the NFL to a playoff win over the Cowboys, and honestly, had 2 chances to make it to the NFC Championship game in year 1 as a starter. So absolutely, Jordan Love deserves to be a top 10 quarterback on my list.
Number 7.
I got Jared Goff. He was 4th in passer rating in the 4th quarter or overtime of 1-score games. Among those with obviously 100 passes, at least 100 passes in those circumstances. He was number 9 in passer rating on deep attempts. He was number 8 in third down passer rating. That's a very key number there. And we saw against the Rams in that first playoff game. Those third downs were extremely crucial, absolutely crucial. And I think we talked about this when it happened on the show. By the way, number 6 in overall pass rating as well. But I think if it wasn't for Dan Gamble being himself, making some very, very questionable 4th down calls instead of kicking a field goal, a very high opportunity Jared Goff probably could have made a Super Bowl this past season. It's just the way it turned out to be. Dan Gamble gambled too strongly. And guess what? It bit him. So, Jared Goff's up on this list. Consistently great, except, let's be honest. When it's outside, cold weather, Jared Goff, and especially under pressure, Jared Goff shrinks a little bit. But with the number 1 offensive line in the NFL, how many times are you going to be under that much pressure? Probably not that many. So that's why I give Jared Goff the number 7 spot.
Number 6.
I got Joe Burrow. The best ability for me is availability, because if you're available, I could actually see you perform. Now, he wasn't 100% available, meaning 100% healthy in large chunks of the season, the first month or so. Completely banged up. A lot of the sports media was talking about how he shouldn't even be out there because of his preseason injury during practice. And he ended up only playing 10 games that season after getting that weird ligament injury. I think he was banging it on Jadeveon Clowney's hand or something like that against the Ravens. He was completely out for the rest of that season, but he should be back very, very healthy. But during the time he was available, his best game was against the 49ers' incredible defense, where he was picking apart that defense, and really Brock Purdy had no opportunity to get back in this game because Joe Burrow kept scoring, kept pushing the ball down the field. So absolutely, when he's healthy, he'd be much higher on this list. Probably for me, a top 3 quarterback on this list, and definitely an MVP candidate. And guess what? Here's a massive one. Right now, the Goliath of the NFL is Patrick Mahomes. He is the only quarterback to go toe-to-toe with Mahomes and be extremely successful, has a 3-1 record. So that's why I put Joe Burrow at number 6.
Number 5.
Number 5 for me is CJ Stroud. I understand, rookie season, but it was an incredible rookie season. He shocked several people as a rookie. He had big-time comeback wins against Tampa Bay. He went 96 yards in about 42 seconds, had a comeback against the Bengals and against the Colts. Guess what? Stroud threw for a league-wide interception percentage low of 1%. 1%. He had 499 pass attempts. 1% of them ended up in interceptions. That's pretty good. Pretty damn good. And he took a 3-13-1 team, turned him into a 10-7 team, made the playoffs, beat the number 1 defense in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns, in the playoffs, and was en route to playing against the Ravens, who obviously were overmatched. Had a very strong defense. Lamar Jackson's an incredible quarterback, won MVP last season, but he also had a conference-best 4.7 air yards per completed pass attempt. So the guy is accurate, smart decision-making. The numbers look great. Last year, he had, I think, over 4,000 yards. I don't have the graphic in front of me. He had over 4,000 yards passing, incredibly efficient. He had a triple-digit passer rating in the fourth quarter overtime in one-score games, and he had an AFC best 123.4 passer rating on deep passes and led Houston to win the AFC South. So definitely 100% CJ Stroud has earned this spot.
Number 4.
Number 4 is Brock Purdy for me. MVP candidate up until about Christmas when he played against the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson beat him, and clearly from that point on, Lamar Jackson was the MVP. He has 2 NFC title games in 2 seasons, one of which he obviously won and made the Super Bowl this past season, and had a couple opportunities to win but fell short. He was first in yards per attempt and passer rating, number 3 in passing touchdowns, number 5 in passing yards, and we saw in the playoffs, he had some of the most crucial back-breaking, motivation-killing runs in those big-time playoff games, which shows, yes, he has the ability, kind of Mahomesian, to when he needs to run, tuck the ball, and start heading and running. So he has that ability. He has that awareness. He has that football IQ to when he needs to run, he sees an open lane, and the game's on the line, the drive's on the line, they need to score. Brock Purdy will do that. So that's why he is my number 4 quarterback.
Number 3.
Obviously, this is the MVP, Lamar Jackson. He won his 2nd MVP award. His 3rd highest graded quarterback by Pro Football Focus. He grew massively as a passer under Todd Monken's system. Had the most passing yards, highest completion percentage of his career so far. And guess what? He was able to perform at a very efficient and effective clip. Let's be honest, without the strongest receiving core. Did he have a bunch of first-round picks? Absolutely. Did he have OBJ, who was 1 year removed from potentially, if he didn't get hurt with his ACL tear, potentially being Super Bowl MVP with the Los Angeles Rams? 100%. Nelson Aguilar. People like to beat up on Nelson Aguilar because he dropped passes. Yeah, early in his career. Nowadays, he was not that bad for the New England Patriots and Mac Jones before they screwed up that entire offensive system. But instead, you know what? Lamar played to his strengths. He grew as a passer. That's what I want to see. He won his 2nd MVP. More power to you. He is my number 3 quarterback.
Number 2.
I got Josh Allen. Yes, turnover problems have been a massive issue. So far in his career, he has had one season below double-digit interceptions. He's Brett Favre. That's who he is. He's Brett Favre. He's a modern-day Brett Favre. Gunslinger. He's high-risk, high-reward type of quarterback. He was 4th in passing yards, tied for 5th in passing touchdowns. He was number 2 in big-time throws, and he was number 1 in rush grade for non-running backs. He was also tied with Jaylen Herz for rushing touchdowns among non-running backs, and then again tied for 2nd overall in rushing touchdowns. He had a tremendous season. A lot of people thought he could have been the MVP, but Lamar, the amount that he was doing, he was the Ravens last season. Hard to put a guy who was really the soul and really the only major production piece of an offense. You can't exactly put Josh Allen over that type of player. So Josh Allen gets number 2, and the obvious, I don't think anyone's going to argue with this.
Number 1.
I got Patrick Mahomes. Just won his, 3rd Super Bowl now. Going for a 3-peat. Yes, he didn't have the best wide receiver core, but that not best wide receiver core ended up winning that Super Bowl. The ability to recognize that Kadarius Toney, yeah, he can't catch the ball. We're going to bench him essentially the rest of the season. Very smart move. There were a couple, bad moments there, like Kadarius Toney lining up offensive offsides. Not the best look. But he was number 6 in passing yards. He, once again, just like Brock Purdy, except even to a higher extent, had some really back-breaking runs where you thought you had him, 3rd and 12. He runs 40, gains 16 yards. That's what Mahomes could do. One of the best arms in the NFL, although really I still think I would take Josh Allen's pure arm over Mahomes, but he still is a top 3 arm in the NFL. He overcame probably the worst wide receiver core he will ever have. Now entering this season, he's going to have Xavier Worthy, who I'm still saying has a Tyreek Hill mold to him, extremely fast. They're going to go back to the deep bomb throws, 75-yard touchdowns, but I don't think anyone is going to argue with Mahomes being the number 1 quarterback. But I would like to hear what your reaction is on my top 10 quarterback list.
I agree with all 10.
Really? That's a first.
I agree with all 10. I do think it's a little controversial, some of the spots they're in, though.
Okay.
I would say the 2 controversial spots are number 5 and number 8, only because of the sample size of both players. They really, it's last year that you're basing it on. They've only really played one season, and for Love, it's really the second half of last year where he really stepped up and showed that he could really do it. So can they keep doing it? All the other quarterbacks have a higher sample size, so I would swap Jaylen Herz for number 5. I would swap Dak Prescott for number 8. Okay. I would put C.J. Stroud at number 9, and I would put Love at number 10. That would be the only change I'd make. Everything else I tend to agree with. I think, Joe Burrow, he was hurt a lot last year. He didn't play that many. He played 10 games. He started the season hurt. You have to be out there on the field to see how well you can do. So everybody else played the whole season. I think at number 6, maybe that's okay. Maybe Goff might be a little ahead of him, but I think given just based on last year, but based on their careers, I think he got that right. So everything else I agree with.
I'll say this up front. I originally had Tua at number 10. Dak Prescott wasn't on it. Then I thought, well, Dak just had his best season, was a true MVP candidate. Tua, after November, becomes basically an iceberg. He's still winless in basically sweater weather. So I can't put him there if in the biggest moments of the season, Tua can't win games. And especially against teams with a winning record, if you're up against top-tier teams and you can't perform very well, I can't put you. Same thing with Dak Prescott, but Dak at least is good enough to at least sometimes have good games. Tua can't. He's winless. So there you go. That's my top 10 list. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.